Touchdown, Alabama, let's get it.
The process, no one can stop this. Hottest show in the streets, I bet you can't top this. Rammer, jammer, yellow hammer, come see how we rock this. Alabama fans the best, there's no way you can top this. Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
The process.
Welcome into the process, Crimson Tide Recruiting of yours truly, the scouting and recruiting analyst, Touchdown Alabama Magazine, Justice Smith. Alabama's recruitment is on fire as they just landed another commit and five-star quarterback Bryce out of Mater Dei High School in Santa Ana, California. The Tide got a verbal commitment from Young during his official visit. He announced his verbal commitment on Sunday. Young is Alabama's 23rd commit in the 2020 recruiting class. Alabama is also preparing for another huge recruiting weekend as they're hosting a number of official visitors. Among those is Alabama's four-star linebacker commit DeMore Kennedy out of Theodore High School in Theodore, Alabama. Alabama will also host four-star targets Xavier Henderson and McKinley Jackson. Jackson is a four-star defensive lineman out of Mississippi. He will announce his commitment on February 5th. Henderson is a four-star wide receiver out of Columbia High School, Miami, Florida. He will announce his commitment on January 4th. In this edition of the process, I wanted to take a look at Alabama's 2020 recruiting class and pick out 5 guys who could make an early impact for Alabama on next season. I know it's early to look at this considering the fact that Alabama is not very far into this season, but what we have seen in the early part of Alabama's season is the fact that they're not afraid to play true freshmen. A lot of factors goes into Alabama and Nick Saban choosing to play these true freshmen. Among those factors are the talent that those freshmen possess. Also the lack of depth goes into a factor. So I'm going to take a look at 5 guys who could make an impact for Alabama on next season based off those factors, based off their talent, and also based off the fact that Alabama may not have the depth that they want at that position. So with that being said, let's get the process started. A lot of factors go into Alabama choosing to start or choosing to play true freshmen during the season. Injuries, a lack of depth, that particular player's skill set, how quickly that particular player adjusts to the college football game are all factors Alabama and every team in the nation looks at before they start a freshman, before they consider playing a true freshman a significant amount of time during the season. So I picked out 5 recruits who are verbally committed to Alabama who I feel can make an early impact for the Tide based off the way they play in their senior season, but also based off Alabama's expected depth chart going into next season based off Alabama possibly losing a large number of guys in the NFL draft, but also some guys graduating. The first guy up is Alabama's 5-star athlete Drew Sanders out of Denton, Texas in Ryan High School. Sanders currently plays multiple positions for Ryan High School, but Alabama will most likely line him up at the outside linebacker position. Sanders is a kid who has experience at playing wide receiver, tight end, and a little bit of quarterback. He also has played a multitude of positions on the defensive side of the ball. I feel he can make an early impact at the outside linebacker position because Alabama will undoubtedly lose Anthony Jennings and Terrell Lewis at the end of this season, and they will hopefully have to depend on Jerez Parks, Chris Allen, King and recruiter and Kevin Harris. They want those guys to step up. But up to this point, neither one of those guys have made a significant impact, so that they're definitely going to be those dogs and those dog edge rushers at the outside linebacker position. As of yet, they still have time to do so. The season is a long way to go, so they still have a time to prove to Nick Saban and Pete Golden that they are going to be those dog edge rushers that Alabama likes to have on the field, similar to the way they love to have Tim Williams during his time at Alabama. They want a dog on the outside rushing, so they're going to give those guys a chance to fit that mold, but if they don't, they're going to depend on some of their younger guys, and this is one of the reasons why 3 of my 5 guys on my list today are guys who are expected to play outside linebacker at Alabama on next season. So that's why I feel that Drew Sanders, that's why I have Drew Sanders at number 5. This guy that stands at 6'5", weighs 235 pounds. He fits the frame of outside linebacker on Alabama's defense. I think the only thing that could slow him down is the fact that he has played a multitude of positions at the high school level. It's gonna take him some time to fit one position, play one position at the college level, and just focus on that one position. So that may slow him down. He also can add on some muscle, which is something that comes with most freshmen, and there's no problem once Alabama gets their particular commits in the strength and conditioning system with Scott Cochran. That's something that pretty much comes naturally. So I think that Drew Sanders is one of those kids to watch out for at the outside linebacker position. When you look at Alabama's 2020 recruiting class, that some guys could make an early impact. The next guy up is another 5-star outside linebacker commit who we at Touchdown Alabama feel he's a 5-star outside linebacker, and we're talking about Quandarius Robinson out of Jackson Olin High School in Birmingham, Alabama. Robinson is another one of those guys who's expected to play outside linebacker for Alabama at the next level. Robinson is a guy who stands at 6'5", weighs 217 pounds, which makes him another one of Alabama's recruits who fits that mold of being an outside linebacker for the Tide. He's a lengthy kid. I got a chance to see him in action when Jackson Olin High School took on Minor High School, and a plus for Alabama is the fact that Jackson Olin is currently using Robinson in the same way the Tide plans to use him at the next level, rushing off the edge and getting after the quarterback every play. I got a chance to see Robinson in action and looked like he was getting shot out of a gun. He was so explosive. He could play sideline to sideline. He was chasing the quarterback, making the quarterback uncomfortable every play. So I think he's a kid who's already getting the experience at being a great edge rusher, which could be huge for Alabama once he gets to the next level. As I said with Sanders, it's the same thing with him. I think he could stand to add on a couple more pounds of muscle, which could be no problem. As I said earlier, Scott Cochran is going to work on him, get some muscle on his frame. So Robinson is another guy I think who could make an early impact for Alabama at the moment. I know I said I was going to list 5 guys earlier, but I could not complete this list without listing all of Alabama's 2020 wide receiver commits due to the fact that Alabama's wide receivers Devontae Smith, Jerry Jeudy, and Henry Ruggs are having magnificent seasons, and look like all 3 of them will declare for the NFL draft and go on to the NFL based on what they have done in the earlier part of Alabama's season. So when you look at Alabama's 2020 recruiting class, they currently have verbal commitments from Thaiu Jones-Bell, Trayshawn Holden, and Javon Baker. Javon Baker is a 4-star wide receiver out of Georgia. He's a guy who has that dog mentality in him. He always wants to go one-on-one with defensive backs and go one-on-one, dog-on-dog, man-on-man, see who comes out on top. He has a nice pair of hands. He always knows where he's at on the football field. I saw him compete at a 7-on-7 earlier in the summer, and he was able to get both feet and bound on an impressive catch, showing that he's very knowledgeable where he's at on the football field at all times. Trayshawn Holden is a guy who stands at 6'3". He's a lengthy wide receiver, which means that he can go up and catch those 50-50 balls. He can bully defensive backs. He's also pretty fast for a 6'3" guy. So I think he has a chance to possibly compete and play early at Alabama at the wide receiver position. And Thaiu Jones-Bell is kind of the opposite of Trayshawn Holden. He's a bit on the shorter side, has a thick frame. His game is currently compared to former Alabama wide receiver Calvin Ridley, but I think he's a bit more stalked and a bit more put together than Ridley is. So he's able to make grinded out runs and possibly make defenders bounce off him based off his size alone. And the next guy that I have up is another outside linebacker, a guy who's expected to play outside linebacker next season for the Tide, and that is 5-star outside linebacker / defensive end Chris Braswell out of St. Francis Academy in Baltimore, Maryland. Braswell's a guy who comes in at 6'3" and weighs 220 pounds. What I really like about Braswell's a guy who comes in at 6'3" and weighs 220 pounds. What I really like about Braswell is the fact that he plays for St. Francis Academy, which means that he's going to train to be one of the top defensive players in the nation during his high school career. And one thing that really stands out to me about Braswell is the fact that he's not afraid and he's athletic enough to possibly drop back in the flat and cover a wide receiver, or cover a slot wide receiver, or cover a tight end. So I think he's a very athletic kid, and I think he's going to train like Alabama's current starting linebacker, true freshman Shane Lee, who was able to come in and make an immediate impact at Alabama. A little bit of that had to do with the fact that St. Francis Academy was training him to be a linebacker and training him to be a great defensive player in the SEC and at the college football level. So Braswell is getting that same level of training. He's a guy who's also one of those guys that's explosive off the edge. He's a lengthy kid who knows how to use his lengthy arms to get offensive linemen off of him and keep them from getting advantage over him when he's rushing off the edge. So I think Braswell could be another guy who could come in and make an immediate impact. Like I said earlier, and like I said with all of these guys, basically, a lot of factors are going to go into them possibly making an immediate impact at Alabama next season. As I said earlier also, this is a very early look and a very early very, very early look and see which Alabama commits are going to make an immediate impact for Alabama on next season. Last but definitely not least is Alabama's 5-star quarterback commit, Bryce Young, out of Mater Dei High School in Santa Ana, California. He is Alabama's latest commit, and I know Alabama fans are not particularly looking forward to facing another starting quarterback position battle with the way that their last quarterback position battle went. But it looks like it's going to be another one in Tuscaloosa, and it's going to surround Bryce Young, Talia Tagovailoa, Mac Jones, and Paul Tyson to see who's going to be Alabama's possible starting quarterback at the next level. Young is a guy who has a nice deep ball, as I mentioned when I broke him down once he broke his commitment to Alabama. This guy is very explosive with the ball in his hand. He keeps his eyes downfield when he's getting rushed, which I think shows maturity for a guy at a young age. He's considered to be one of the top dual threat quarterbacks in the 2020 recruiting class. A lot of people are high on Young and feel that he can come in and make an immediate impact at Alabama, with the fact that Tua Tagovailoa will most definitely declare for the NFL draft at the end of the season. Well, it looks like Tua Tagovailoa will declare for the NFL draft. It's going to be hard for Tua Tagovailoa to possibly come back to Tuscaloosa, so I definitely think he's going to declare. But with the fact that that leaves Alabama's starting quarterback position open, Young, Tyson, Tagovailoa, and Jones look like they're going to battle it out in Tuscaloosa on next season. And Young definitely has a spot in this race. I think the door is open for any one of those guys to step up, and it's not out of the realm for Alabama to possibly start. So those are 5 guys I feel at the moment who could make an early impact for Alabama next season. So those are 5 recruits who I feel who could make an early impact for Alabama on next season. Of course, Alabama's 2020 recruiting class is far from done, as they have plenty of room and they are targeting plenty of other targets as their 2020 recruiting class continues to fill up. Be sure to comment and list a couple of Alabama's 2020 recruiting commits who you feel who could make an early impact on Alabama's 2020 recruiting class as well. Of course, I would love to read you guys' comments. As always, thank you guys so much for watching the process. Hope you guys continue to watch, continue to stay tuned, and also continue to read touchdownalabama.com to stay updated on everything surrounding Alabama football and recruiting. As always, I'm Justin Smith, the scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama magazine. Thank you guys so much for watching.
The process.